of this, when I was researching this, took me into comparison of us as people being the children of God, how we are, how we to be like trees, how we are to feast, and how we are to grow, and how we are to nurture, we house, we feed, we do all of these different types of things. But there's different things that has to happen sometimes to certain trees in order for their purpose for them to go on and to grow. The same as likened unto us. They have a circulatory system in which they feed. But see, when you look at us, we in the natural, we grow in height, we grow tall. But as in a tree, I mean, some of us, we grow outward like trees too, but I mean, that happens, that's neither here nor there. Trees grow and they firm up in their midsection, they grow wide as they age, and it grows from the center, no longer looks like the lifespan, it's more on the outer circle. But you would know that and know the age of a tree if you cut it down. But if you cut a tree down, as deep as its roots go down, as long as its roots are rooted in that good soil and it touches water, they will spread out and grow. The roots will grow and that tree will grow again. But sometimes in life, when we think about us, sometimes we feel like we get knocked down and we get chopped down that we'll never grow again. That's the circumstance that comes against you in life that feels like that was just, you don't realize that's what you needed. Because there's things that'll happen, there's different bacteria and funguses that can attach itself to a tree. And as long as there are certain ones, I researched it, but y'all, I'm up here now, so then I'll be flying. But there's certain funguses that can attach to a tree. It begins with the L. I think it's like lytricin or something. I would go through all my research and everything and look at, and there's moss that can attach to the tree. They don't hurt the tree at all. These are the fluffy, the green things that you see on the outside. The moss is that thick, fluffy, like fungi that just attaches to the tree and it grows all over. So it doesn't bother the tree on the outside of the bark of the tree. And as long as it doesn't grow and just get so mingled around the tree to where it gets heavy and then it'll knock off a branch. So at this point in time, that's when it needs to be taken off. But you have to wear gloves to handle this, to take this off. So if you think about how big a tree is, how many people are going to go around to each individual tree and go to take that off? There's people in preserves, reserves and all that type of stuff. But then there's also the other one that grows, and it nurtures, it feeds off every little microorganism that is on the tree. It feeds, they grow. It'll all grow. You don't have to do anything to it. And it creates those little splotchy looking green patterns that's on it. Now it's green, it's fine. Still, you don't handle it. But if it's yellow, it's poisonous. It's poisonous to us. It can harm your animals. So when certain things attach to you, you have to be wary about it. So you have to be aware of your connections, your attachments to certain things. And sometimes you don't attach to things. Sometimes things will find themselves attached to you. Sometimes by your environment. It's just the environment, because these fungi grow in certain environments. It has to have the right humidity. It has to have the right moisture in order for it to grow. But it'll grow all out of control in the right environment. But if you have these other circumstances, it can be a detriment to you. So be careful what you find yourself attached to and what's attached to you. Sometimes we have long-term connections to old relationships, old situations, old past hurts, rejections, fears, worries, because this has come up and has come upon me, and your connection to it, it's not good for your environment. This thing can end up, if it gets inside of the bark, which actually in this, it gets inside your skin. If it gets inside your soul and resonates in your spirit, it can be a poison to you. This is something that can overtake you, and now you feel weighted and weighed down, and you don't know, and despondent and confused, and you just feel like, I want to give up. I'm done. This is over with. I can't take any more. But what I wanted to tell you guys about different trees, because I am going to give you, like I said, different scriptures, but I want to talk about these trees and this likeness to these trees in comparison to us. So there's trees, as I told you, that can grow, and they have shallow roots. But if you compare that to how saints can be, they can turn around and they come and they look like they're on fire, they're zealous and everything. But as the trials of life come, because the word that you get is tried, they say, I'm done. That's enough. God knows them. The shepherd knows them. You know somebody by the fruit that they bear. You know by their professions. You know them by their actions. You know these different trees by where they grow and what they produce. And then you can see how rooted they are within, because at the moment's notice, they can turn around and say, you just watch them. It looks like they start to burn off and drift out. But when you see these shallow trees, I was driving down here one day, coming across, and everybody that comes this way in the back way, you see that little roundabout that you can go around. Well, in the roundabout, there was trees all around about it, and they're not really fortified trees where you say they have really wide trunks. And some of them are kind of narrow, but they're there, and they look rooted. Why? Because a tree that has shallow roots, you can see above ground. So this one particular tree, like right after the storm and the rains came, and also a tree with shallow roots, if the water, the soil around it is compacted, and the rain goes on top of it, and it just sits, a tree with shallow roots may not stand. It'll fall. Why? Because it's not deep enough down into the soil for it to withstand the environment that it is now encased in. So this tree down there in town was completely knocked over. All the rest were standing beautiful. They looked fine, not leaning. They were nothing. And we had that really bad storm and rain that came down here. Apostle told us about the flooding, and you guys that live down here told us. But this one tree was knocked over, and I kept wondering. I said, why is that one tree knocked down? And you can see all the roots. The roots don't look deep. Some of them look fairly thick. They look kind of short. Why is this tree down there? But I know I've seen this tree before. Just like saints, I've seen you before. I know you. We had a kinship together. Where'd you go? Why did you leave? Because they weren't rooted in the soil. It wasn't deep enough. When you go in God, you have to grow in him, and you have to go down to the depths. He's in the deep. In the deep places, those mysteries of God, you have to search these things out. You have to want to acquire them. Because if you don't, you say, I'm just going to grow this far. My worship, this is good. The word that I get on Sundays, as long as it doesn't go past game time, or as long as it doesn't go past that appointment that I said that I had because I want to go out and I want to go eat, or my show is coming on that I take because I didn't get the chance to watch it all week, but you had Saturday, but that's neither here nor there. I digress. Type of things, you want to go because you don't have that attachment. You don't want to be around the saints, because then when people are trying to give you more, you're just like, I've had enough. This is poured out. This is just enough. I'll come on Sunday. That's just enough. I can't make it to prayer because I have just enough on Sunday. That 30 minutes is enough. And if I don't get that, I get 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 5. Bless you, Jesus, hallelujah, glory to God, and that's going to carry me all week. You're shallow. That's a shallow Christian. You don't wish to go no further. You stop right there. And then if a wind comes, it can knock you over. Now you've completely backslid, and you look at this person and no, I recognize you by the love and the Christ that I know, the seeds that God planted in you that you once had. But you look at yourself as the person being backslid and be like, I don't even recognize me no more. And the first time you see them, they come with their justification. I didn't come because, you won't see me again. I just got a couple more things to do. I got to get me right. And you be like, but you was already right in the place, and you know that the church is a hospital. You know that there's good soil there. You know that there was a planting that you were supposed to be a part of. No matter how deep or how shallow you was, you had a purpose because you were planted. But yet you uprooted. You're gone. These things, these winds knocked you completely down. And the waters just drowned you out. And now you're somewhere else in compacted ground. You can't get rooted anywhere. You're just shifting. You're all over the place. And that's how we can tend to be sometimes as Christians. So we got to be mindful and be careful. Are we in search of the things of God? Because he's always right there in the place to meet us. He's here. He planted you. You have a purpose. But are you going to choose to grow? If you look at a tree, and a tree that is deeply rooted, its roots constantly grow. And they grow right at the tips. They grow and they span out. And they go deep and they span out. And when you turn around and you see them on the top, you see their branches. They extend. I'm trying to look at my notes, but as in looking at them, y'all, to say what the word actually is, that what they call them the shoots. The shoots are the top of the branches. They call them the shoots. But if you think about a branch and you think about your hands, as quick as you give a praise, they what? Shoot up. A tree branch, it shoots up, it reaches out, it reaches to what? You have the heavenly places, you have the rain that comes from above, you have the sun that is the nutrients that comes from above, but you have those things down in the deep places The ground is what's fertilized, and that soil has the nutrients to help you grow. And those roots are out in search of more of that and dig into deeper places so that they may grow. Why? Because the more you grow, the more fruit you have, the more nutrients they have. You can, or if you're a tree that doesn't bear fruit, because in the natural, there are some trees that don't bear an actual fruit, like an apple or something like that. You have trees that have a bunch of leaves. They house things. Their bark, their body, their leaves, it nurtures. So you might have to nurture some little ones that are out there. It doesn't matter, but you have to be rooted enough for yourself in order to have something to pass on to somebody else. If you're not rooted, you can't stand. How can I help? Or how can you help somebody else to stand? We all have a purpose, and you have to look beyond how a person looks and how it seems to see past, to see that Christ that's in you. That's a little one. That right there, that seed is planted. God brought it here, planted. Now it needs to be watered and watch it grow. And sometimes it might need a little something extra, because there are times when you have to come around, and as in Pastor told us, he had the tree in his yard, and he said that it had to be dunged about in order for this tree to grow. Sometimes you have to dig. God comes, and he comes in a vineyard, which would lead me to my scripture, which is Luke 13, verse 6 through 9. When you get there, can you give a little amen? I'm trying not to burn on through and burn on past, but at times I will. So I praise God for that. Are we good? So this is Luke chapter 13, verse 6 through 9. So this is a parable that Jesus has spoke. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came and sought fruit thereon, and found none. Then said he unto the dresser of his vineyard, Behold, these 3 years I come, seeking fruit on this fig tree, and find none. Cut it down. Why cumbereth it the ground? And he answering said unto him, Lord, let it alone this year also, till I shall dig about it and dung it. And if it bear fruit, well, and if not, then after that you shall cut it down. So this for me says that there's certain situations that have to come and have to uproot, have to dig up some dirt around you. It has to cause a cut off from some people, a cut off from some things. Because if you dig around about, it's like a cutoff. That's a break. It's a break in the soil in order for something else to be planted. Inside of that fertilizer that goes down, fertilizer stinks. And hot, it really stinks. And in situations, there are certain situations that come our way, it really stinks. And it says, I want to get away from this, because something that stinks, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get up away from it. I don't want to sit here and tolerate this. It's either going to make me queasy, make me want to pass out, or make you angry at everybody, because there's some smells that'll make you mad at people. I'm just saying. But this situation has to come into your life, because if you become stagnant in your purpose, the Father's questioning why. What is going on? If you are here, this cumbereth means you're idle. You're doing absolutely nothing. What is your purpose? You have deviated somewhere from what you're supposed to be doing. Why are you over there? Why are you still connected to what I told you to let go of? Why are you still holding that? It's sucking the life out of you, and now you have nothing. What are you doing? Your environment you was planted in, it was ready, it was open, it was plowed, it was dug down, you went down in the ground, you broke forth, you came out, and now you have nothing. And I come time and time again, and you still have nothing? What do you mean you have nothing? So he says, well, after that, then guess what? I might as well give them over to what they want to do. Hey, I'm done with this thing. But that's not how he sees us. But this is how we let go of him. Why? Because we were planted in the right place. It was soiled. It was fertilized. It was all these things in advance. But yet you chose the option not to grow. You said, this is as much as I want. I don't want no more. Sounds shallow to me. But being a fig tree and you're going to bear fruit sounds like it's something that you need to get deeply rooted in to grow up and live in the nurturing, because your environment it was fine. The environment you was planted, just fine. It was conducive for you to grow. But what are you doing in it? You're doing absolutely nothing in it. So now you want to leave it? So he says, well, cut it down. What are you doing? You don't want to do anything. So you're letting yourself go, because the Lord does not let us go. He said he holds us in the palm of his hand. He said, none have I lost. That's what he reports back to his Father. And I look at this when I was reading this. To me, I take this as in Jesus being the vine dresser and God coming about, seeing, searching his people. He's looking for us. He's looking for a church, and he's looking around. But what are we doing with ourselves? We cause things in the air, and our environment has shifted into something else. And now we're saying, no, I'm done. Well, where were you at in the first place? And I'm saying this when it comes down to us as being Christians now. We were planted in a space. Church was fine until here came a virus. Now we're scared. Now you're worried. But every time a family member got sick, every time something went bad in your finances, we could find you in a place you'd be laid on the altar, wailing and crying and spitting and hacking and all types of stuff. But something comes your way that feels like it's scary to you, that has brought fear your way, instead of shaking it, because fear is what walked into your environment. And I'm not saying it to disdain not anybody. I'm not saying not to protect yourself and be precautious, but I'm saying be found in a place in the soil in which you were planted, because you needs to grow. It's much needs. It is purpose. It's high time to be growing, because we have to go out here, and what can we give to anybody else when we've just stopped? I'm done. You said I've stopped. I've let go. I've disconnected. My roots went this far. That's all I have. That's not all you have. He knows what you have, because he planted you, and he knows the fruit that you were purposed to bear. So he came and questioned you about it. Where is it? Because I'm ready. It's season. It's the season. The harvest is ready, but the laborers are few. Where are they? Why have we backed out? Why have we allowed anything to rise up against the name of God? The children of Israel, when it came down to David ready to fight, this giant was standing in front of him. He said, I can take this. God, I was able to take down the lion and the bear. I can take this. This giant, this fear walked up on us, but the rest of us turned around and put on our bootstraps like Sister Terry said. What you want? What you got? That's what you got? Back up off me. That's enough of that. You in my space. Back up, fear. You in my space. You don't come in my territory. I'm in the army of God. This is his camp. What you doing over here? Don't you come this far. You stop and come no further. That's how it is. You have to be a true militant. You have to be ready in this army. Why? Because as a tree, you grow wide. You get fortified. You are solid. It's going to take something to try to cut this tree down. This wind may blow. You ain't ready for this. You're not ready. Because every morning that I wake up, I strive. I want to be like that thick, fortified tree. Because if you bring something my way, I want you to know I just woke up. I want the enemy to turn around and say, oh, she's up again. He might bring things the way. He brought fear. He did. I can say that in the inside of me, I turned around and one of the first days that ended up happening, I didn't know what to do, honestly. I was kind of in shock because I don't listen to the news and the things that are coming, because I'm hearing it from somebody else. And this is the connections that I'm talking about, because sometimes you got to cut connections of conversations off in the midst. The moment that it comes out, you got to cut that thing off, because why? Then you've grown some type of attachment and connection, and now you acting out of character. You wonder what in the world just happened. You can listen to somebody read you all the sob stories of their life, and then now you walking around sad and depressed. What just happened? You turn around and you hear too much cussing and fussing. I'm telling you, you can be liable to have some words that you was like, no, I didn't have them some words. And they will generate, and they're murderous. They will cut down some things. They will tear up, and they will uproot some things. They'll uproot you and uproot them. And I say that because I'm a product of this very thing just this week. The word is tried, I told y'all. I was standing there, and my son Wayne, I'm telling you, I don't know what it is. He can be that joyous kid, but his absent-mindedness and his move about him, I call it. Like, I mean, some people will call it like a methodical move, but to me, it's too slow. I need you to do what I asked you to do, and I want you to do it now. I don't want you to wait to do it later, because now you're talking about I forgot, and that ends up being his famous line, and I don't like that, I forgot. That, I don't know what it is. He probably truly did, but it is burning me up on the inside. Now, my flame, my match is off the top. I am over. I am ready. I am over the top. And I'm telling y'all this, and it's something that's so small. But what have I been entertaining and attaching myself to? I'm in my workplace, and I hear people day in, day out. And I mean, you can hear them because it's a big warehouse, but there's no music. All you hear is machines, and then you can hear voices. And you hear people talking, and you hear their complaints. And sometimes you don't even have to hear it, you can see it. And I'm sorry, y'all, it makes me emotional because you see, it looks like the weight of life that people are carrying. And I try not to stare at it too long, and I'm just there, and I'm just praying for them. I'm like, God, I pray for them because I see some people, like they're literally bent over. But these people are still working these 10 hours on these hard floors, just working. So I have to be careful not to attach. And then sometimes people stop and talk to you, and I'm like, why me? I'm like, I just wanted to be in the aisle, just work by myself. Why? Because people, being a child and a product of God, you end up being plenty of people's counselors. Strangers in the street just start telling you their whole business. And you're just like, what? I didn't ask. Okay, I didn't ask. And now you're just inside yourself. You got to instantly go into that place like, Lord, please give me wisdom to help this person. Because sometimes they don't want you to say anything at all. They just want to dump out. And then when they feel like they've emptied out all their stuff, they take some with them, but they feel a little lighter. But guess who they dump that on? And if you don't instantly get rid of it, now you have just infected your tree. Now your house is affected. Now I'm walking around like all outside of myself. So my son, as I was stating, turned around and decided that he didn't take out the trash. He had on 3 lights, and he's in one room. Oh, I was on fire, y'all. I'm telling you, because when I came home the other day, I told him about the lights. I said, why are all these lights on? The dog don't need to see, because she's going to be in the room with you, because she's a scaredy cat. So at the end of the day, and funny, right? Scaredy cat, but she's a dog. So she ends up in the room where you are, but all these lights are on. So I tell him to turn the lights off. This is the calming. I'll go down in my room. Here's another day. Here came the storm. I came up the steps. The trash was full. Recycle was full. He's in the dining room on his phone watching a video. The living room lights on, the kitchen lights on, the dining room lights on, and he's like this. And his mess is on the table. Son, why are all these lights on? And he gets up with the, I don't know. You don't know? We're the only 2 here. How do you know? I'm sorry, did the dog turn the lights on? Did Casper turn the lights on? Why are all these lights on? Why is the trash still there? I forgot. Lit the match. I was so mad, I turned around and told the boy, pack his bags. I said, I can wait, and I'm pointing at the calendar with effort. I will wait till your birthday on the 28th. I will tell you, you got to go, you got to move. And then he's standing there, and Wayne has this uncontrollable, if any of y'all know Massage Taylor, if it's a fearful situation or anything, he giggles, but he has this smile on his face. When somebody smiles at you when you are at the roof, does that make you feel great? No. So he laughed, y'all. I'm telling you, he just chuckled. I don't know what it was, but he was sitting there. He was trying this whole time. I'm yelling, and he goes, I said, do you want to get murdered tonight? And I meant it. Like everything in me at that moment meant it. I go downstairs, and I'm talking about I went downstairs in my room, flopped back on my chair with no need to think of any effort that I was going to apologize, and he better be up there packing. He better be packing. I had to tell him, I said, get out of my face. He goes upstairs. He says nothing, absolutely nothing. I hear a little bit of noise. I said, maybe he's packing. Oh, well, but he better not come ask me for no ride because I ain't taking him nowhere. But I told him that he was moving and I was going to drop him off. On me. So for me, I had to sit back there later on that night. So then I turned around and I get the message from Pastor, I think maybe the next day or something. It could have been the day before. I'm not even sure when exactly that part happened. But what happened to me is that I was going through things. I told you I was living with this whole tree thing for a couple of weeks. And so I'm sitting there, and then after everything goes on and the wee hours happen, I'm up all night long because now I can't sleep. Because I'm wondering what has disrupted the atmosphere in my house. What has just happened to my environment? And I had to look back at myself and say, I caused this. I caused a transition in my environment. Now I can't sleep because my mouth spoke something that was murders, and now I can't sleep because the enemy is firing off all these darts about him coming downstairs doing something to me, about all these things that I could possibly take him out. I'm telling y'all, the battle was real. Like all these things to possibly take this child out, this one that I love, this one that I'm connected to. What else have I connected myself to? Or are these roots somewhere else? Are they deeper than what I thought? Are these old connections that I turned around and I didn't allow the Lord to take care of for me? Is that what this is? So I am up. I'm listening to sermons. I'm listening to gospel music. And I'm just like, like all these images still popping up. And I'm like, why am I not the better? Why am I not good? Why can't I see clear? Why, Lord, that I don't feel this peace yet? But the whole time I'm laying in my room, I'm up. He was up. Not as late as I was. Now, when I'm telling y'all I was up, I didn't rest until 5 a.m. I was up all night long. And we would say that's due to my hours and nah, I've been off a couple of days, y'all. I was getting rest with ZQuil sometimes. That was the first day. But anyway, because your body got to transition. But what I'm saying is that it wasn't a tired because I had worked. It was one of those tireds and restlessnesses because I opened the door for something in my house that may have already been somewhere that I might have been connected to, but I didn't have the realization until after the situation had happened. And you know how situations come back your way because you have the trying of your faith work at patience. We know that. And for me, that is a work that God is working. I know he works on y'all. So like for me to have patience, sometimes the way a person has to process. Because for me, if you don't process like my mind does, if I can't give you 4 or 5 directions, we have a problem. Like if I have to give you one and then wait, one and then give, I done forgot 4 or 5 things that I just told you to do because my mind's on the other stuff. And now I'm all out of sorts. But God has to work on me in that area. There are connections too in my life that I didn't realize. And what I'm saying by the connection is the connection of this old anger that I had for his father. I had anger for his father for everything that I thought he didn't do, that he could have did, that he should have did. And I presented that and all that came out in a different way, but I didn't realize my old connections. You have to be aware of what you're attached to. And when certain situations come up in your life, is that an old attachment? Was that something that I didn't completely disroot and connect from? Or is this one of those things that, I kind of just tied it off and just been like, Lord, don't look at that. We're over it. But you're not over it until something happens. And then this rise comes out and you're just like, what was that? Or you have a disdain for somebody who falls in a certain area. And I'm talking about people can do some gutter butt, ugly, nasty stuff in life. But who are we to look upon somebody else's sin to turn around and have any type of judgment on it? I am no one's judge. Because why? I can have some ugly things in me too. I might not have did it, but I could have thought about it. And sometimes someone close to you, you're more apt to forgive than people that you turn around and you just meet. You hear, you did what now? And you instantly have a guard. Nope. That's not how God wants us to be. He wants us to share and share it freely. Because why? He shared his gift and he shared it freely. It's all up to you whether you choose to accept it. You get planted and rooted in it. The soil is already there. It was already open. It was already poured out. His blood went down. It spread out. It covered. It saturated. He planted it down and he took his seed and he implanted it in us. This was some filthy, dirty soil in here. This wasn't right until I asked Jesus to clean me up. And I asked him to forgive me and come into my heart. This was a nasty place. Nasty, nasty. And still there are some levels to where there is dirt, to where it is not real good dirt. It is unfertile dirt that needs more blood. It needs just that more. The moment that he brings it to my realization, I don't want to root in that, but I'm already laid over there in it. These are old connections to the connections of the world. Old things that you like to do that come around your way and be like, oh, okay, maybe just a little. Or, oh, okay, maybe we can just talk about this person just this one time because she was never right anyway. So it's okay to talk about her. No, it's not. If you're not going to leave that with life in the midst of that, let it go. Why? Because that's not because the Lord said in his word, and I'll give you a scripture on that, it says God will pluck what he didn't plant. He didn't plant that. He doesn't plant us talking about those are not seeds that come from our Father. You don't plant gossip and backbiting. He says, I don't know that. I don't know that at all. He says what it is, and then that particular scripture is Matthew 15, verse 13, that God will pluck up what he wants to pluck up, that he didn't plant. So you have to be aware of what your attachments are. There are certain trees, and it's a jack pine and a lodge pine tree. These particular trees, now they spread their seed, but only by fire. That's something, because sometimes fire has to come your way. There's sometimes certain things have to be dug up And the Lord has to add fertilizer, his word upon it, in order for you to actually connect. Your roots have to get reconnected. The fertilizer that's going to be in there, the word, the seeds of life that he's going to get, you feast off of that. That's what helps you to grow. But this fire comes, and I wrote this down, so I have to actually look at my notes to say it. It's Seratinous, Seratinous. And it's what you call what the seed does. It remains closed. Its dissemination is delayed in occurring, and it occurs gradually, but they call it this Seratinous cones is what they call it. So it looks like a little cone. It actually looks like the shape of a coffee bean almost, but they're bigger with a piney-like shape, and they're fortified. It's closed in. The only way these seeds are released in order for them to, for their seed to go, is they have to get struck by lightning. Could you imagine that? How often does lightning strike? So they have to be planted in the right soil, in the right place for that lightning to come, because God knows that's what they're going to need in order to spread their seed. So sometimes a fire situation has to come in order to turn around and cause some of the seeds, the old seeds that you had, to be shaken and loose and coming for your new seeds to grow. It has to have that attachment. Sometimes you just need that jolt. When it turns around and comes into that song that just moves your spirit, got you all over the place, it's like a reviving. It's a new fire. It has just ignited you. It's like, woo, we are out of here. Yes. And you're on fire all over again for the Lord. It's a washing. Sometimes it can be the word, but that's the touching that he comes down. He has to touch you sometimes that way. So sometimes you have to think it not strange concerning the fiery trials, which is to try you, as though some strange thing has happened unto you. Why? Because sometimes there's certain seeds that got to be able to be let go, but they need that fire in order for them to be shaken about so they can be dropped to the earth. So, and it's like they're coated and they're protected in this like waxy coating. So what has to happen to wax? Well, it has to get heated in order for it to melt, in order for things to be loosened, right? Like when you burn a candle. So like these different trees that I was looking up was just awesome in comparison to thinking about how we are to be as saints, how we are to grow, how situations have to happen, because if he does it for a tree, and this is how a tree grows, how do I grow? This is how I grow. These things have to come. It must needs come my way. That's how I speak it about. It must needs come. So I'm trying to think of any more scriptures that I really want to leave with y'all tonight. And it's God. He'll build you up. You're planted. You're planted for purpose. So he will build you up in the areas where you feel like you just can't handle anymore. He put you in the right environment. You are planted in a place for purpose. If you leave or you let go, it's because you unattached yourself. You disattached because you said, I want no more. But when he comes searching, because he's going to come, we are going to enter that place when we go up to that judgment seat. And when he asks you, what did you produce? What were you doing this whole time? What can you say? There's nobody else there but you. The vine dresser no longer is speaking at that particular point. He is making intercession. That's what this vine dresser did in this chapter. He made intercession on this tree's behalf. He said, don't destroy it. Give it a little more time, Daddy. Give it a little more time. It will grow. Give it a little more time. But if in that time it doesn't, and I'm trying to think of who it was in the story. Was it Lot or was it Abraham that was in, and then God was going to destroy the Sodom and Gomorrah? That was Lot. He was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and he kept making requests and asking God, but if there's this many in the town, which it was Abraham? Okay, so it was Abraham. I'm like, I know it was Abraham and Lot. They was cousins, right? That he said, if there's any more that can be found in this town, would God save them? Would he preserve them? And God said that he would. So he did the very same thing for this tree. He does the very same thing when it comes down to our lives. There are sometimes we get disconnected. There's sometimes we unattach because the weight of life is just, sometimes it just feels like it's too much. When I'm saying this, y'all, I'm telling you, like for whatever it was, I just had this weighted feeling. And when I come home, if my environment, my house, being my environment is not right, I'm not right. I'm very agitated. I'm very angry, and I will flip out on everything that's in there because my environment is not comfortable. I come from an environment that is not comfortable. It's not relaxed. by any means at all. And I come home to another place, I can't rest. Like, somebody has to take care of this. I mean, I had to turn around and what? I need a whole nother, I need a co-vacation. And I mean like a co-vacation in order for this to get paid for, so I can turn around and have time off work so that I can do all of this. But it'll be clean, but what environment am I going to come back to? Because my little trees that are planted in the midst of this garden along with me, I'm not sure what my little sprouts are doing. Because they're not taking care of business. I know that the root that runs deep, but I'm not sure where all the rest of the roots then went. I'm just like, where are you people? What is going on? Y'all know this. Y'all should know this about me because I've shared. We as Street, we share. I tell my kids what affects me. I tell them what offends me. And I also ask them why, so we don't keep affecting and offending each other back and forth in the same way. The older ones, they're at that age. The younger ones, we have grown to now this point. I've been talking to you since you were 2. Now y'all are 13 and almost 11. Like, let's get it together. If I've offended you, I'm sorry. But you got to get this together. Because I'm telling you, that Kaya, it looks like a windstorm went bad somewhere. That person, you can tell everywhere it's been. And that oldest one, they're just alike. You can see it dressed up. It wears beautiful clothes. But I tell you what, if you see that room, you're trying to turn around and be like, well, where did you pick that from? Where did you find that? Was it grounded somewhere underneath all this other stuff? I'm telling you, fall has happened in her room every day. And I say these things because these are the things that I learned, like Sister Collins had told me, just shut the door. Walk away. Shut the door. The smell that comes out of the boys' room, just shut the door. Walk away. But for the rest where I have to dwell, it has to be comfortable for me. I need to be rested. My environment, it needs to be that. Did Solomon not need a place to rest himself until he turned around and rested himself in the lap of the sea? You got to be careful, because when my environment wasn't comfortable to me, I told my kids, I said, you know what? Y'all got like a year, maybe 2 years. And I wasn't going to say this, so I know the guy has allowed me to tell you, Apostle. I was driving home. Now, y'all know I come home at the wee bits, and me and the Lord was having a conversation. So I said, Lord, I can't do it. Not another day. I said, I got to go. I got to go. I got to get up away from this. I said, I'm moving to North Carolina. I'm buying a house that's just enough for me, and I'm not going to tell these people I'm leaving. I said, I got 1 to 2 years. I said, and if the Lord leads and speaks, because he's going to have to speak at the pastor in order for him to release me to go. I said, but I tell you what, I'm out of here. I gotta go. I got to go. But where can I go into another environment? And let me tell you what God was showing me about this environment. Y'all, it looked like he showed me I was working at the gym. I was doing great. And this is the whole vision that he gave me about it. I was doing great. And then it's like this image came up that they was having this service, but I died. I was like, wait a minute. I died, but I was still alive, naturally. What did he tell me? If you uproot yourself, spiritually, you won't die, because you're planted in a place and soil. I purpose you to be here. And if I release you, I release you. But if I don't, you need to stop talking about it. He said, let that blow like chaff in the wind. He said, because if not, this is what I'm going to show you. Because I didn't have a natural death. But I was like, why are they having a service? Like, I died, y'all. I was like, wow, sweet Jesus. I was doing excellent. Y'all should have saw it. I was fit, y'all. I'm telling you, it was glorious. Until the service. We got to wake up. We have to come to the realization. Are you going on? I mean, does it look like life on your face, but actually somewhere in your spirit you're dead? You're dying off? You're uprooting? You're disconnected? Are we? It's just a spiritual check. That's what I'm requesting, like in this message tonight, a spiritual check. Check yourself. Check where your roots are. Check how deep they go. And when I'm saying check how deep they go, see how much you want to keep digging, how much you want to keep going. You let nothing separate you from the love of God. Not principalities, not perils, not anything that comes your way. Because you got to see, your love for him has to be that deep-rooted connection. Sometimes in families we're connected to them and we have this drawing, we want to be so close, but sometimes you got to let some things go for a season. And let God bring that back around. Because sometimes you got to pray in the alone place and get alone with him in order for him to deal with the situation. Because it might be something going on with them that you think as a person you can heal, but you can't heal that. Sometimes they got to see you going on. You be the demonstration. You be what stands strong. You be fortified. And then everything else. Because then you have something to share because you're in your place where you're planted. Because then that way you turn around, and then if God has to, he'll dig it up. He'll dig it up. Don't let God have to cut it off. Because when God has to cut it off from you, now it just feels like I really feel by myself. Because you'll try to call somebody, and I'm saying all this stuff because when I'm saying you, I'm talking in that general sense. I am really talking about me. Because I get in spaces sometimes mentally in my mind when I just want to do stuff, and God won't let me. And I want to talk about it, but I don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about it to somebody because, you know, you want to hear somebody's input. That's that connection. That's that creature, as we've been taught. But sometimes God doesn't want you to speak out what's on your heart to other people, no matter what it is that's on the inside. He says, pour this out to me. Lay it at my altar. That'll be a sacrifice. Lay that out. God, I'm done. Because I don't know about y'all, but I've tried to call people, and they don't answer. And I'm just like, but these people always answer. What you mean you're not answering today? Because he doesn't want you to. He wants no connection to nobody else. There's things you'll try to do, and all of it will be shut down. And you'll be like, well, why can't I go? There's nothing wrong with, okay. He wants that alone time. He makes it personal. When your roots go down, it's personal, it's deep. That's a dark place. You can't see nothing but God. You can't hear, you don't know nothing, but you just feast off of him. He'll take you to scriptures, and then he'll give you a song, just you in your alone place, to minister just to you. Because after you've been delivered in your situation, you can tell and give to somebody else. But you have to want it. Because if you don't, you just topple over. If not, he says, I'll just cut it down. But he didn't say he cut it down unto death. I just cut it down because this apparently needs to start all over again. He didn't say it was going to die. Cut it down. Just cut it down. Because he'll pluck up what he wants to pluck up. But if you cut a tree down that is already buried deep within and has deep roots down, as I told y'all early on, it'll grow again. Now, it's not going to be as big and as fat as it was. It's going to take, trees grow, and it takes decades for them to get to where they're going to be. Now, you could say, like, for a flower, you know, it's going to be a shorter time span for it to be where it's at in its fullness. But a tree is going to take longer because a tree has layers. A tree has, it has roots. It has all these things that has to go on, that it has to go through, just like us. There's certain things in order to get our functionings all in connection together, it's going to take a process. So take the process that God is leading you to, that's going to nurture you. And I want to say let it be the easy way, but it's the trodden way. It's the straight way. It's the way that he said to go. Don't take the broad way. Because then after that, you can end up being an uprooted tree with nothing to share with nobody. And then you can end up hearing those words that I know nobody wants to hear. Depart from me, for I never knew you. Because the words I desire to hear is, well done, my good and faithful servant. So when he comes to you in the midst of the gardens of your heart, the garden of your mind, and he comes to check to see what you've been doing, and he comes to see what you have to bear, just make sure that you are in your place. And that you have fruit to provide to him, which is in your praises and your worship. Because if you grow shallow, you feel like I'm dry. I have nothing to give to nobody else. I'm not connected. I don't want to be. I want to be by myself. Just leave me alone. Don't want to be in that place because it's a lonely place. And it's a place that you do not have to be. Sometimes I'm saying there's a place where you have to get alone, but you're not alone by yourself in that sense of that loneliness. Don't be in that place and find yourself just somewhere wallowing in the wilderness, just lost and just a wretch undone, because you are the child of the King, of the Most High God. He called you, each and every one of you, by name. So find yourself in your place. If you've uprooted yourself, it's not too late to come back and be replanted. Get nourished all over again. But just this time, when you're there and you're in your place, and I'm speaking this out not just for the people that are planted in this place, I'm talking about the people all over the world. Find yourself in your place. Find yourself on your knees where you have been planted and nurture off that soil, because it's time. It's time to shed this, to share. It's time to go out, and it's time. This harvest is right. Let's do our part because we have our purpose. Amen? God bless you. Thank you, sweet Jesus. Thank you, Lord. I thank you all for being in just in place today to hear this word that God has ministered to me. I pray that it was a true blessing unto you. I'm sorry, I know everybody's had a long week, but as y'all can tell, I got a little rest. Just a little bit on. But I just thank God for you. So if you rise tonight, or if you're just rested, you can just sit in your place, just so we can pray and just cover over this word.